Hit-and-run survivor meet our new residents Vrajabasi Bull Chastity Belt Mending Old Wounds January 2, 2006 Krishna Prem Samarasa Kirtiraja Krishna Chandra our new residents since Kartika our herd has increased to 109 residents at the Care for Cows Gosadan. Krishna Chandra, Samarasa, and Kirtiraja, three very young bulls, came in towards the end of Kartika. Samarasa and Krishna Chandra both had broken limbs and were rescued by Syamagori Dasi and Priti Dasa respectively. Kirtiraja had no broken bones but was severely undernourished and dejected. The tiny, thin young bull with a serious, soft nature, was rescued by Kirtiraja Dasa, USA who has happily sponsored him for a year. Haripriya Dasi, from NZ, pledged to regularly contribute to Samarasa's life maintenance fund. One afternoon in late November Srinivas Das and Radha Damodar Dasi, Australia, had just decided to sponsor Krishna Chandra when they saw a young bull wandering around the Gosadan calling for his mother. He had obviously just been uprooted from a local dairy and abandoned near the village of Sunrik. He wandered in at an opportune moment and they decided to sponsor him as well. They named him Krishna Prem. They now have 3 calves under their care in Vrindavan and several more at their farm in Canberra. Seems like the Australians have the greatest inclination for Go-Seva. Mending Old Wounds The latest arrival is a tiny and very saintly bull found near the Radha Raman temple by Gaurake Salvadasa, Yamuna Kunj, Vrindavan. His front left leg must have been broken months ago and had calcified at practically a 90-degree angle. He cannot put much weight on the leg except to balance himself. Dr. Lavania said he would try and straighten the leg so it could provide support when he grows to full size. This little bull is destined for fame. The owners of TKG's Veggie Garden restaurant in Puerto Rico, Kartikeya Das and Nandini Dasi, have named him Braja and adopted him as the mascot for their restaurant. His activities, progress, and adventures will be reported weekly and posted on his notice board in the restaurant so that all the patrons can keep up with his pastimes in Vrindavan with all his new friends. What a life! Samarasa and Krishna Chandra, who are actually a couple of very friendly bully boys, challenged Braja upon arrival, but he stood up to them, showing signs of a very strong character. Hit-and-run survivor during the first week of December, Chaitanya Simha Das, Dubai, and Bhakta Das, Vrindavan, were on their way to visit the Dauji temple in Gokul when they saw a little chocolate-colored calf lying on the side of the road. The local villagers said she had been lying there for 7 days or more. Chaitanya Simha cancelled their program to take darshan of Dauji, put the calf in the car and drove straight back to Care for Cows. Upon their arrival, Dr. Lavania put the calf on a sucrose strip and treated her broken leg and other injuries. She was seriously dehydrated, malnourished, and injured in several places. It was doubtful she would live as she couldn't even hold her head up. Under the guidance of Dr. Lavania the staff and volunteers of CFC nursed her back to health with acupressure, massage, medicine, fresh clover, wheat sprouts, cracked wheat porridge, vitamins and love and affection. Her bed sores healed, her leg was put in a cast, and she is now hobbling around the yard. Chaitanya Simha, who lives in Dubai named her Dauji while Braja Savaki Dasi, Mayapur, called her Pushpa. She has captured the hearts of everyone who has visited. She has such a sweet and gentle nature and has been a model patient, tolerating all the attention given to her wounds and her healing process. After Dr. Lavania cleaned her wounds and prepared to leave, he saw Syamagori Garland Pushpa, feed her bread, brush her, and console her like a mother does her child. Dr. Lavania said that the affection Syamagori was showing to Pushpa was far more important medicine than the antibiotics he had administered. Cows respond to affection. It boosts their self-esteem and increases their will to live. In January we had another young bull join us. He had been blindfolded and driven away from his home by his owner and abandoned by the Krishna Balarama tree. They had blindfolded him with the hope he would not be able to find his way back home. So we brought him in. He was distressed, naturally, but soon calmed down as Madhava, one of the young twins, took him under his wing and befriended him. He's been named Astadharasada, or 108 for short, since he was the 108th member of the herd. Auspicious arrival owing to the goodwill of our neighbor, Rajkumar Avananda Krishna Van. 85 of our cows and oxen get to meander on a 5-acre hilltop during the day. It is fenced and thus the cows are protected from getting impregnated by stray bulls that wander in the area. However, one of our first bull residents, Baba, was very disturbed at having to stay back at the Gosadan while the rest of the herd went to the hill. He was being kept back because we do not want to expand the herd at present owing to shortage of space. What to do? Karma Rupa once saw a herd of goats wandering near the Gosadan and noticed that the billy goat was wearing an apron that hung vertically between his front and back legs. He understood its purpose was to prevent him from uniting with the female goats in the event he mounted them. We decided to make the same kind of apron for Baba and used a rope and an empty grain bag or gunny sack. It fit perfectly, and after tying it on with a rope, Baba did not seem the least bit disturbed by it. He went to the hill and discovered Mongala was in heat, but owing to the apron failed to impregnate her. This is a very practical way to keep the cows from getting impregnated. Virajabasi Bull Chastity Belt, a farmer's wife who was swept away by floods in New Zealand yesterday, had her life saved by a cow. Kim Riley praised the animal, known only as number 569, and described it as an ugly old tart. The area around Mrs. Riley's farm at Woodville, near Palmerston North, has been lashed by severe storms that have claimed 2 lives, washed away wooden houses and forced the evacuation of hundreds of North Island homes. Insurers put the cost of damage at £40 million. Mrs. Riley was leading in a herd of 350 cows in early morning darkness when they were caught in a torrent of floodwater. "It was just amazing how the current picked me up," she said. "Before I knew it, I was being pushed along with the cows." Mrs. Riley said several of the panicking animals went over the top of her, leaving her badly bruised from their kicks. Then she saw that a group of cows had made its way to an outcrop of dry land. "I couldn't swim there, the current was too strong," she said. "I tried to grab a tree, but missed. I thought if I was washed into the main river I would be gone. That's when I realized I was in real trouble. I thought most of the cows had abandoned me. They were strong swimmers and left me in their wake. But I looked back and saw one of the last cows bearing down on me, number 569. As she went by I threw my arm over her neck. She was strong, and the warmth that was coming from her was so reassuring. I just laid back and relaxed, and said, 'Take me home.' When we actually hit hard ground, we both sat there quite exhausted, puffing and shaking. I could never have made it on my own. She's an old cow, an ugly old tart, but I'll have to say thank you to her for saving my life." In the news by Paul Chapman NZ, February 18, 2004, "Did you know? Cows don't have upper front teeth. Cows have 32 teeth, 8 incisors on the bottom front, 6 molars on the top and bottom of each side, a tough pad of skin instead of teeth on the top front." Daily we have an interesting variety of visitors to the Care for Cows Gosadan, some local regulars, some from overseas, some for the first time. In mid-December, we were visited by Braja Savaki from Mayapur, who came with Jayasri Dasi and Janamrita Dasi from New Zealand. Braja and Janamrita visited daily to brush the calves for hours at a time and feed them treats. Braja returned to Mayapur, convinced her husband Janu that he had to meet these cows and bulls, and returned 2 weeks later for another spell. They have shown great dedication to Pushpa, the little chocolate calf. Last week Mundapa and his wife Jagat Priya, Australia, visited with some friends. They have sponsored Samaveda for 2 years now, and were very pleased with her progress, saying she looked fat and healthy. Their friends were business clients of Mundapa's who were visiting India for the first time. They were visibly moved as the cows approached and licked them in great friendliness. Radhakaran Das, Australia, also visited and was visibly moved to see all the residents. When he saw Pushpa he said, "Hey, I was just in Mayapur and saw a photo of this calf on Braja Savaki's desk." He gave a donation for the cows and was very touched by his visit. Sadama Das, Spain, and Mahavirya Das, Peru, visited and placed an order for 10 kilos of our Care for Cows Gabasadi dupe, incense made from gobar, ghee, 5 herbs and roots from the Himalayas. They will sell it in Miami and Peru. They say there is a great demand for natural incense as artificial incense is reported to give cancer. Friends old and new Jayasila Das, NZ, visited and happily renewed his sponsorship of Nandi, a majestic bull who wanders free in Vrindavan but regularly drops into Care for Cows for his share of feed, grooming and mostly to look at the cows. Radhakaran Das, Krishnamayi Dasi, Gopalraj Das, and Srinath Das came to brush the calves. Gopalraj started chasing the calves and they all stampeded around the shed, running and jumping and having a great time. They went around several times enjoying the fun. Dhanurdhara Swami came with Henry, Janitai Das, and Agni Das to see the Gosadan. We also had some 4-legged visitors. 3 cows, each about 2 years old, have been visiting regularly, and we have been feeding them outside the gate. Sushil admired how healthy they were and mentioned how they were perfect targets for the cattle rustlers and suggested that we keep them inside the compound at night and release them during the day. We let them in and thought it wise to tie them so they wouldn't wander into the garden at night. As he got some rope, the cows became nervous and started searching for an exit. 2 jumped the fence and we opened the gate to let the other one out. They seem very much able to take care of themselves, so we will just feed them whenever they come, and see what happens. We received a message from Karen Curtis, a veterinarian from Australia. She is coming to Vrindavan for a visit and during her stay has volunteered to check the health of the herd. She wrote to ask what we might need here in the way of medicines and closed her letter by saying, "Thank you for this opportunity to use my training to help the cows of Krishna." She has a nice service attitude. 2 kittens have also moved into the Gosadan, and discovered its warmer sleeping with Pushpa at night under her blanket. Their presence has caused all the rats in the grain go down to flee. More guests try Care for Cows natural dupe www.careforcows.org Kurmarupa@careforcows.org. That's the news from the Care for Cows Gosadan for now. For further information regarding sponsorship, feeding the herd for a day, or contributing to one of the cows or bulls life maintenance fund, please visit our website or contact us by email.